Welcome to Raised on DnD Podcast. Twice a month, Raised on DnD brings you inspirational interviews, tips, and strategies to enhance your family's gaming experience. Your host for Raised on DnD has been a game master for 30 years and father to 3 gamers. Here is Nick Cardarelli.
Welcome back, gamers. I'm your host, Nick Cardarelli, and this is Raised on D&D. My next guest is originally from Chengdu, China. He now resides in Port Elizabeth, South Africa. He is one of the very first people to start dungeon mastering 3rd edition D&D in China. He organized the very first D&D game cluster in Chengdu. Now he is a proud dad of 2 young and highly inspiring D&D players. He's currently helping his kids develop their own YouTube channel, Dabbing Sausages, by creating short story-based videos based on their hobbies. In upcoming episodes, they will be creating some proper D&D content. Please welcome Jindi An. Hi, Andy.
Hi, Nick. Hi. Thank you very much for inviting me to your show. I'm highly privileged.
Thank you so much, and thanks for being on the show. Well, Andy, before we jump into all the things that you got going on, can you take us back to your first experience with tabletop role-playing games and Dungeons & Dragons?
Wow. It must be... Well, first of all, thank you very much for it's a very good question because that immediately dragged me back to my old memories. It was in the year of 2001. That was the first time when I get encountered with the tabletop role playing. Before that, I've been quite an old fan to the what we call in China, we call it Western sword and magic fantasy games and stories. So I've been playing the old CRPGs such as Baldur's Gate and Icewind Dale, that type of thing. I've been reading Dragonlance and I've been reading the Dark Elf the trilogy and all of these things. So I think that was the year of 2001 when there was a game called Neverwinter Night that was released. That was the first game based on the AD&D third edition. So that day I went to the computer city where I went there to buy the game software. Then I ran into a shop. That was the very first bookshop that I saw there selling the hard copy of the D&D rule books. So I picked it up, and so I asked the owner, I said, what it is? So don't tell me this is what being, because I've heard a lot about AD&D, but that was practically the first time I saw the core books. Actually, I have it still with me nowadays. I even carry it with me to South Africa. You can see. That's the very, very first. Yeah, very first AD&D books in Chinese version. All right, that was introduced to China in the year of 2000 and published by the agency called the Third Wave. So then I got my hand immediately on this book and I bought myself the full set of dice. I still remember this book, and that stage cost me like 450 yuan. That is my entire monthly expenses for about 1.5 months or 2 months. So
wow.
My girlfriend was asking me, so what's wrong with you? Why are you buying these books? And is there something really special that you're spending all your spending money on that, pocket money on that thing? So I told her, I don't know, but I just feel this is the gate to some really imaginative world that could have endless possibility, and would be the experience I would never have. I would never have chance to experience before. Although at that stage when I bought these books, all the 3 books, and I didn't even have a single player to play with me. So, but I'm thinking, well, let me have the books and let me read through, understand what is this whole world set up about. Then at least maybe I can develop my own players. So, automatically my first player popped up. That was my girlfriend.
So you're playing the video games, you're reading D&D literature like Dragonlance and the Icewind Dale trilogy, and you love the setting already. And and the old Icewind Dale video game, oh my goodness, so many hours, so much fun. Oh, I would play that this afternoon if I could. It's so great. And
exactly.
And so moving forward, you find the books and you don't have anyone to play with. They're very, very expensive at the time. And you're able to, you're like, you know what? It's worth it. I don't know why, but I got to have them. And you get the books and it's amazing. So you start, how do you transition from, I've got no players, I'm the first person in town to have these books. My girlfriend's gaming with me. How does that expand from there? How do you start getting that first table together?
Well, that actually has been quite a journey. I have to say, there was also the timing was right, because first of all, I could not get anybody to really get even interested in the DnD game, tabletop game, because at that time, when people talking about Western style fantasy game, the first thing they think about is Diablo 2. If they have time, they rather play with they go outdoors to play basketball, or if they stay in the computer room, they play Counter-Strike. So it's pretty much early 2000, that kind of vibe. But so to me, it was practically impossible to gather any people. So what I've done is, because at that time I started to write fictions to the Chinese fantasy magazine, I basically started to create my own small fantasy world by using some of the concepts from the Dungeon Master rulebook. So by you creating that story and the whole setup, then very clearly I start to have a nice concept start to shape in my mind, because I believe as a dungeon master, the most important thing is you must believe in yourself. You must believe in the world that you're going to create, because if you don't even have a faith in your own world, you're not going to attract any other players. Because so that's the first thing how I did it. So I start to write some short fictions, so some short novels, start to publish on I think I started with internet and then started with some hard copies, and then I become slightly well-known in the local sci-fi group. So in China, the sci-fi community is quite big. So yes, it's very big. And especially Chengdu is like a headquarters of the sci-fi culture, sci-fi community of China.
Wow.
So I think, and also another thing happened at the right time. I think in the year of 2001, the first episode of Lord of the Rings hit a big screen.
Yes.
And I'm telling you, that was immediately a big game change. So I gather a group of friends while we're watching the Fellowship of the Ring. I said, you like this, eh? We can actually do something even more epic if we work together. Do you guys want to give it a try? So that's how I ended up, have gathered my very first group. And I still remember vividly only 4 people, including my girlfriend at that time. And before we started, and obviously I've run a couple of solo games with my girlfriend, and I've given her lots of. So if judging by DnD rules, it was not a strict DnD game. Mm-hmm. So basically, she was a warrior, she was a fighter / sorcerer / warlock / necromancer. But the most important thing is also for me to get into that kind of vibe. So after that couple of rounds of testing game, I was telling myself, yes, this is definitely the way to go. And so I brought it to my gamer, and there we had the first game. So it was an amazing experience.
So your friends are what we would call hardcore science fiction fans. Mm-hmm. They get their first taste of sword and sorcery with the Lord of the Rings. Nothing says sword and sorcery like J.R.R. Tolkien. So they get to see that, and you go, hey, if you like this, you're going to love Dungeons and Dragons. And exactly. and that's what it took to get them to say, you know what, we'll give it a try. Mm-hmm. That's amazing. That's fantastic. Now, fast forwarding, you're a husband and a father. How many children do you have, Andy?
I have 2 children, one boy, one girl.
And how old are they?
My boy is 11 this year, and my girl will be 8 by August.
Congratulations. And I have 3. Mine's 15. She just got her learner's permit driver's license and just got her first job. And then I have a 13-year-old and a 12-year-old. So Andy, your wife, is she the girlfriend from the story?
Yes, she's the girlfriend. So, she knows everything, how I started, we left China together in the year of 2003 and traveled to South Africa and settled down here. When we first resided in PE, this little city, it's a harbor city by the southeast coast of South Africa. And we didn't really have too much entertainment, as an international student. Your dormitory is quite small, and there's really not too much thing for you to do. So for the first few years, I think we spent quite lots of time on DnD. And that has really accompanied the first couple of boring years of our South African life.
That is fantastic. And have you been able to find other gamers in the South Africa community to play with?
Not at the beginning, to be honest. Because actually I was also quite surprised. Because when I came to South Africa, I was thinking, okay, South Africa has a very rich European culture influence, and they should be able to find lots of people that are playing the similar game. Then I came here. It took me about a year or two trying to allocate some people in my region, but then I failed. I found some people who can play Magic Gathering with me, can play Yu-Gi-Oh with me. That's fine. We have quite a nice trading card community. But when it comes to DnD, in the year of 2003, it was very, very small. In the big cities such as Johannesburg and Cape Town, yes, you can find some nice groups. I used to read a report, even in Johannesburg, they even used to have DnD, the very big DnD conferences. And even Elon Musk used to be, attending one of the short sessions. And that kind of, it's pretty cool. So from my side, and because the city that we're residing is a second oldest city of South Africa. So have a very rich Christianity culture. So you know how it works too. Many of them, when you talk about dragon, okay, it's you're talking about speaking of devil, and you will have problem. And also to them, many of them, they have been affected quite badly by the old impression from DnD left from the 80s. Because I used to, because I started applied sociology. So my class activity is all about work with team, work with people. So I try to bring that game into one of our class activity. And then one of my classmates actually stood up and say, it is a bad game. It's all about violence. And I don't think we should continue things like this. So, speaking without any bias, but the fact is I couldn't find any nice party in the first couple of years when I reside in South Africa. Wow. But things has changed tremendously after the 5E has released, because the 5E and also, I have to say, the Pathfinder also changed lots of vibes in the gaming community of South Africa. First of the Pathfinder brought up the new generation. When I talk about new generation, it's about, let's say, 10 years younger than me, people 5 or 10 years younger than me. Mm-hmm. And they start to get to like DnD, especially when they play on internet, then they start to seek to play offline with people. So now in PE, we start to have quite some play groups, and they start to have regular DnD sessions like once a week. From my side, yes, I have 2 groups that we play with, not regularly, because on one group it's more advanced player or more experienced player, and on the other hand, that is a newcomer, and he who just pick up the the starter kit, Lost Mine of Fandover. Yes. He's just starting with that set, and he's DMing, and I'm part of his party. So for me, basically I'm joining two kinds of group at the same time, and I'm not really DMing for any of them because I really like to have that kind of immersive experience with each party, because I don't get that kind of a chance when I'm running my own parties. I've never had a chance to become a player since 2001. Since the first time I get to start this game, I've been DMing throughout almost my whole entire D&D professional life. Let me call it this way. So I'm really, really enjoying at this stage to be part of the two very different groups.
That is fantastic. And I know, being a forever DM myself, those rare moments where I've gotten to play is so nice. I introduced my brother to Dungeons and Dragons and tabletop role-playing games recently during the lockdowns and gaming online with lots of friends. He has really taken off with it. He's really enjoyed it. I've finally got to sit down and play. My 13-year-old last year, he ran a game that he wrote himself and ran for the whole table. And I was able to sit in and game with them for the first time in what felt like forever. So I know that feeling. It's wonderful to be that dungeon master and be able to just sit back, relax, and just play that one character and let the story unfold. That's fantastic.
Exactly.
When did you decide to introduce your children to tabletop role-playing games and Dungeons and Dragons?
Okay, what I'm going to say may sound like an evil master plan, but I'm still going to say it. Okay. Actually, I had a plan even before my son was born. I was saying to myself, it will be a wonderful, wonderful family activity that we can do together. Because we'll plan a few things, me and my wife, what we can do together as a family. Sports-wise, we can do golf together. And when we stay inside the house, I'm not like other traditional Chinese who plays mahjong every single day. So I was telling her, if there's one thing that we need to get our whole family sit around the table, it must be tabletop game. Because I also play lots of other board games. But I said to her, the crown jewel should be D&D. But obviously, you have to introduce it step by step. The first most important thing is you must find a way to make sure the kids will be sitting around the table for the next 3 and 4 good hours without getting bored. So the plan was there even before they were born, but the introduction and the indulgence, it really takes time. It's the first time that we actually start to do D&D with the kids. It was February last year. Actually, the first session was not run by me. It was run by my friend Dion. And Dion is also a follower of your podcast, by the way.
Oh, thank you! Wow.
Yes. Yeah, he is also he is a very, very experienced DM in both Pathfinder and also D&D. And he does his own modeling, everything. So then because his son and my son went to the same school. So one day he's saying, I would really want to run a junior session. And do you want to, can we put these two kids together? And you can also jump in as a supporting role because it was the first session. Then I was a little bit hesitant because I didn't know whether my son, was matured enough to handle it. So then we gave a try the first session. That was Feb 2020. And I'm telling you, it was amazing. I was amazed by how the kids are involved with that kind of, experience and interaction. Let me give you an example, if I may. My son, the first character he played was a ranger. All right. So it was a half elf ranger. And so when we just leave the campsite, leave the bonfire, so the first thing he said is, Where if when adults is playing, well, adults will say, okay, let's move. Where is the next direction? Okay, let's look at map and then we proceed. Maybe we throw a couple of dice along the way and that's it. But the first thing the two kids they discussed, we must not leave the trace for our enemy to find us. So we need to put out a bonfire. As the adults, we would never think about that. And then the two boys, they quickly make up their tactic. One boy, the other, Max, I think Max was a druid, if I remember correctly. Max said, okay, so I will walk on the ground and whistling, so I can attract all the unnecessary attention to me. And then my son, then he decided to climb on the tree, jump among the trees, like Legolas, jumping between the trees. And he said, can I sneak in the tree? So I would be able to pick up all the dangerous signals, with the first sight. And me and Bill would look at each other. You wouldn't believe it's the first time these two boys are playing D&D together, and it was a first-time experience to my son. So after that, I told myself, I knew it's ready for him to start to, get into this game.
That's amazing. So they jumped right
that
in.
Was my son.
They're making strategies. Yeah. They're thinking outside the box. How do we stay safe? How do we hide our tracks? They're doing all of that from the start, from the very go. And that's amazing.
Exactly. And
amazing.
It was actually much easier because my daughter is, I'm not trying to bluff, but she's really a little genius. She's 8 years old, but she is already doing grade 5, grade 6 work.
Wow.
So
fantastic.
So she's that type of girl, she's not really a Barbie doll girl, that type of and so she always wants to challenge. And also, by the way, maybe it has something to do with her zodiac. She's a Leo like me. So she's very outgoing, want to always take control and try different new things. So as soon as she saw, because the first game we didn't allow her to be part of it, I said to her, maybe you're still too young. But then she kept quiet. She just watched and observed. And then from the second in between the sessions, she came to me and she said, Daddy, I think I'm ready to play during the next session. So,
wow.
So it's like automatically, you didn't even ask her, or you didn't even teach her. She just watched, observed, and then made her own decision. So to her, it was quite easy.
That is amazing. What would you tell parents out there who want to introduce Dungeons and Dragons to their families, and they're having the same reservations you had?
Mm-hmm. First of all, I must say, as parents, we must always have concerns. What messages that we are trying to convey, or what we are hinting to our children, which is normal. But one thing I need to share with all the D&D fans, especially our friends who are already, having their kids and wanting to introduce them D&D games. The bias does not exist with the game. The bias exists lies always with yourself in here. It's like a gun. You can use it to kill people. You can use it to protect your own family. So it's all about how you're going to use it as a tool. So the very first thing is, drop all the unnecessary bias. But when I say bias, it does not only mean criticisms. I also mean passions and loves, because I know we all have passion and loves on D&D, but one must not think this passion and love could be so contagious that your kids can pick up immediately or automatically, because kids are different. Every single kid are different. Maybe it works for my kids, and maybe some other kids may pick up things slower, but you must just not be panicking, not force things to them, not to make them, not to try to, brainwash them to tell them it's a good game. If it is a good game, they will fail, because they will feel it themselves, because the kids, they are extremely smart and sensitive. They don't need to be taught of what is good and what is bad. All you need to do is just lay the ground, lay the platform, and give them the spotlight, let them feel they're not part of the game, but they are directing the game. So if you give them that kind of sense of ownership, immediately you can see that they're gonna really get themselves absorbed into the whole setup you're going to present to them. That's number one. Number two is quite important. I know we all have concerns because D&D is there is definitely violence involved, and there is definitely killings involved, and some unnecessary dark side of humanity might be involved. So then it comes quite importantly how you're going to tune down your whole D&D setup with the kids. And that is quite a necessary work, or may I call it, it's a must for any parents who wants to start a D&D with their kids. And first of all, from my side, I'm just using myself as an example. So I basically eliminate all the unnecessary killings from the game. I would rather focus more on role-playing part of the game. So, and whenever this is a killing that would be involved, I would rather, let them to expel what you call it, like an illusion, or let them to defeat a nightmare. We try utmost best to avoid any killings with blood, any killings with breaking skulls and bones in my game. So I think that is quite important. And the second, sorry.
No, I just wanted to comment that's absolutely, I agree with that entirely. It's all about how you describe the action. As a dungeon master, a lot of times you have to describe how their action or their attack, how it narrates in the story.
Yeah, because if I may just add a little bit more on that, because in the world, what we are in now, basically our children are facing now is vastly different comparing to, the environment, the setup that we grew up with. Many things that we thought it was not right or too violent, whatever to us, it may not necessarily still the same case to them, because in many messages, lots of the messages, information, and they're gonna receive it via other channels, no matter what. So the most important thing is, it's not for you to avoid it completely, but if I may use for lack of a better term, I like to use the word streamline. It's all about how you streamline it in the correct manner and then output the information to them. So that's very, very important. Exactly like the examples you gave me just now. So my second point on the D&D with the kids is I always make my game task driven, because the kids, they can get lost very easily. Their attention, their focus is there for only so many minutes. And if you want this session to be educational, to be more interactive, you must not expect that you give them a sandbox set up and they're gonna discover things by themselves. It's just simply not gonna work. Because I used to run a small session of a Curse of Strahd with them. So as soon as they entered into the old village, they just get lost, and you were surprised. They spent 1 hour to chase the old hag who was selling the dream pie. They actually bought a dream pie, and I couldn't tell them the dream pie was made with the kids. Okay, so they thought it's really dream pie. So they were chasing behind the back of the old hag, and they actually and I didn't want to sell them the pie. So they, no matter what, they just insist on buying it. So even if I raise the price to I think 30 somewhat silver, they still spend the money and bought a dream pie. So after they bought it, they just eat the pie, and then they ask me, what do I feel? So what must I say? If I'm playing with an adult player, I would say, okay, you find maybe a small baby finger in the pie, but you can't say that to the kids, right? So then I have to spend a lot of time to describe, like a person is stone, you see the rainbows, and you see the unicorns, you see the fairies flying with their underwear, swearing in their hand, things like that. So that was a very it was fun. It was hilarious. But it also told me I'm not going to do it again. Because if you give kids a sandbox, and your session will be taken away by their exploration, and it will be very difficult for you to drag it back. So when you play with the kids, it's very, very important that you give them very clear goal. We're going to from point A to point B. And when we're going to point B, what more or less you will be expecting. So if you don't want to make it too straightforward, you can just do a small trick. Say, for instance, I used to, one of the sessions that we play, they were supposed to escort one draw mage from the city to the small town to deliver some supply. But on the halfway, and they were ambushed by the Drider, and then they were captured. By that time, they realized the mage that they were escorting actually is a spy of the Drider. So that kind of small, dramatic turnaround, it's good enough for their small nerves. To them, it's already, no, that's good enough. That's good enough. So to me, that's my second suggestion. Always make your task clear enough and make your story task-driven. For each session, don't run more than 2 tasks with the kids, and then put small tricks, not too complicated, not overcomplicated things. Let them play the game, but not let the game play with the kids. They will be very sensitive if the DM come out to have that, I will get you there, that kind of attitude, the approach. They will get it immediately. And if the kids raise their alert, the next thing you will see is they will basically refuse to do anything in the game. They will be so suspicious. They will think every single thing is a trick, is a trap to them. Once they lost that trust with you, not only as a DM, the most horrible part to me is they lost trust to me as a dad. That will be, to me, like the end of the world. So that is my sixth suggestion.
Fantastic, Andy. Fantastic. And you're right. My youngest, very, very clever. And he started to notice that. He started to notice when I would force, or what we call railroading them in a certain direction. And what you would see is him going, he wants us to go left, so I'm definitely choosing to go right. And at first I didn't notice. I just thought he wasn't getting the hints. And so I'm pushing harder, and now he's resisting even more. And we were playing a game with some friends and their children, and we had this nice adventure. And you mentioned Pathfinder. We were using Pathfinder at the time, and we were using one of the book adventures, and we come to a critical moment where they're sneaking up on the bad guy's hideout. And all the heroes have come up with this great plan, and they know what they're going to do. And they're going, they've broken off into 2 teams, and they're stealthily infiltrating the fortress. And my son at the time was playing a goblin bard. And so the bard climbs up on a part of the ruined castle wall, and he pulls out his drum and starts playing as loud as he can and announcing that they have come to defeat the evil bad guys and everyone's going to die and all these things. And he's doing this, and the whole table is just, what's happening? Why is this happening? And I lean over to him and I say, what are you doing? And he says, well, you see, you've got this whole plan of how the story is going to go, and I'm going to mess that up. And I'm like, oh my goodness. And he goes, because this is role playing, I can do whatever my character wants. And I go, oh no. But it made for a hilarious session. I skipped right to the big boss, pulled him out first. Instead of going room to room, we just had the big bad guy come out and face them. It turned into an epic battle, and everyone had an amazing time. So, and to this day, my friends who only got to game a little bit, they still talk about the Goblin Bard blowing everyone's cover and causing the frantic, chaotic battle that ensued. And so, but you're absolutely right. Had I not pushed, had I not railroaded, had I not forced, we wouldn't have gotten to that point. So, Andy, what do you guys have planned? I know that you made the announcement on the Dungeons and Dragons 5e Facebook group. You've got Dabbing Sausages YouTube channel in the works, and now you're going to be adding to it D&D content. So what can we expect to see when we subscribe? What kind of videos are we going to see from your home?
Oh, thank you very much for raising that question. And I would like to share a little bit more about that channel.
Sure.
It was actually their New Year resolution. This year, at the beginning, I asked both of them. I said, make a wish and make a resolution. Let's make it happen this year. Now, both of them look at each other because my son and daughter, they have their own strange vibe together. They hate and love each other. So for that moment, very rarely, that I can see that they agreed with each other just with a glance just with the glance, and they say, we want to become internet celebrity. I said, what? I said, what? Daddy knows quite many things, but I've never been able to, think about something like that. And if there's a chance to become an influencer, I would take the chance myself. You guys can wait. So, but then they're quite, decisive. And they said, Daddy, I've thought it very carefully, and we want to do it. And then I said, okay, then what kind of things you want to do? And then they talk about their own plan. Actually, they had a plan together already. They want to develop 2 programs, one on YouTube, another, but the same program will also be broadcast in China. We also have another platform called Bilibili, similar to YouTube. And then on TikTok, they want to do short memes. So they actually have their own planning. So I said, okay, when you start, then what will be name called? They said, we want to be called the Dabbing Sausages. So they drew their logo, showed me it's like 2 sausages dabbing together, which I turned into a logo. And then I said, but then what will be the content? You're not going to play the game and then let people watch you playing game. I said to them, 1,000 people are already doing that on the internet. And you use that as an excuse to play game. And I said to them, I'm not going to fall for that. So I said, then they said, okay, no, we're going to do like a short story based on, our imaginative life. Okay, so they started. Now we have already concluded 3 episodes because they're also going to school, so we don't really have too much time to shoot it. But so far, each episode is based on their hobby and imagination. So like the first episode, it was based on how they cook together. The second episode was based on Pokemon, when they were doing a Pokemon card battle, and then the actual Team Rocket came in to snatch their Pikachu. So they went to fight the Team Rocket. Then the third episode become Chinese Kung Fu fight because they could not agree how to clean the room. So they decided to have a Kung Fu battle. So all 3 episodes are already online, but then I said to them, let's do something D&D, what you guys want to do. Because my son is a big fan of XP to level 3. He watched Joshua a lot. And he likes to make jokes with, like a crazy wizard with a fireball, that type of thing. And he said he wants to do an episode with him DMing and then also him and his sister play different players. And then they want to put together a small session. Each session they must come up with an interesting engagement, and also maybe adding a little bit stop motion pieces with the miniatures. So that was the plan that they have. But obviously, whether they can deliver it or not, I need to see the script, because they basically they draw their storyboard. They use the storyboard to draw their script by themselves. So I need to see the script, and then I'll tell them whether we can work it out together or not. So from my side, I'm more playing a supporting role. Just based on story, I help them to shoot with my cell phone, and then I edit it very, very quickly and put it online. And if you guys are interested, please do check it out.
That is amazing. And they come to you, the plan's already in mind. They're like, this is the year we're going to present it. They put it before you. They get this whole presentation. This is what we're going to do. This is how we're going to do it. And they're making storyboards. They're writing scripts. And I imagine you were just blown away by it, just amazed at their preparation, their planning, and their ingenuity.
To be honest, after I said yes, I just feel, and after I said yes, when they put all these papers in front of me, I just feel I was tricked. Honestly, I just feel I got myself into something very unnecessary, you know?
That is fantastic. Oh, my goodness. Well, Andy, thank you so much. Thank you for being on the show. Thank you for sharing your journey with us and your family. Just amazing stuff. We're going to check out Dabbing Sausages on YouTube, and we look forward to all the great things coming out of your home there in South Africa. Andy, thank you again.
Thank you, Nick. Really, really appreciate for the opportunity to share my story with everybody.